Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl, Sam. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited for today's video because we're going deep into the world of the paranormal. Specifically, we're talking about phantom smells, those creepy scents that just appear out of nowhere and totally freak you out. We've got 3 bone-chilling stories of people who experience these ghostly scents firsthand, so if you're brave enough to handle it, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and let's dive right in. Turn off the lights, grab your blankie, maybe some snacks, and get ready to be spooked. Our first story takes us to a quiet suburban home with a dark secret. It's haunted by the ghost of a woman who loved lavender. Her passion for the fragrant flower was known far and wide. The family living there had no idea what they were in for. They were just looking for a fresh start in a new place. They moved in, all excited for their fresh start, but things got weird, fast. Little did they know their dream home was about to become a nightmare. At first it was just a faint whiff of lavender, like maybe someone had just sprayed some air freshener. It seemed harmless enough. But then the smell got stronger, more intense, and it was always accompanied by this bone-chilling cold breeze. It was as if the house itself was breathing. And then there was the feeling of being watched. It was an unsettling sensation that made the hairs on the back of their necks stand up. The family tried to ignore it at first. They chalked it up to new house jitters and tried to go about their daily lives. They thought maybe it was just the house settling or something. Old houses do make noises after all. But the smell, the cold, the feeling of being watched, it just kept getting worse. It was becoming impossible to ignore. They started seeing things out of the corner of their eyes, hearing whispers in the dead of night. It was like the house was alive with secrets. It was like the house itself was trying to tell them something. The walls seemed to whisper and the floors creaked with hidden messages. So they did some digging. They needed answers to the strange occurrences that were plaguing their home. They talked to the neighbors, researched the history of the house, and that's when they uncovered the truth. The house had a past that was far from ordinary. The previous owner, an elderly woman, had died in the house. Her presence seemed to linger in every corner, and guess what? She was obsessed with lavender. It was her favorite flower, and she surrounded herself with it. She had lavender plants in every room, filling the house with their calming scent. Used lavender-scented candles and soaps, making sure the fragrance was always present. Even made her own lavender perfume. It was her signature scent, a part of her very being. People say that when she died, her spirit got trapped in the house, along with her beloved lavender scent. It was as if she couldn't bear to leave it behind. Now, her ghost wanders the halls, her lavender perfume lingering in the air. The family was terrified. They felt her presence everywhere. They tried everything to get rid of the ghost, the smell, anything. They brought in priests, psychics, hoping for some relief. Even those ghost hunter people you see on TV. But nothing worked. The Lavender Lady was determined to stay. The Lavender Lady, as they started calling her, was there to stay. Her presence was a constant reminder of the house's haunted past. They lived with the lavender scent, the cold breezes, and the feeling of being watched for months. It was a daily struggle to maintain their sanity. Finally, they couldn't take it anymore. The haunting had taken its toll on their lives. They packed their bags, sold the house at a loss, and swore never to return. The Lavender Lady had driven them away. The Lavender Lady, though, she's still there, they say. Her spirit remains, bound to the house she loved so much. Trapped in that house, her lavender scent, a haunting reminder of her tragic fate. The house stands as a testament to her undying love for lavender. Okay, so this next story, it's a little different. It's not about a sweet floral scent, it's about something way more sinister. Something that smells like, well, hell. We're talking about the overpowering, suffocating stench of burning sulfur. That smell that makes you think of demons and devils and all things evil. Yeah, that's the smell that haunted this young couple in their new home. They were so excited to move into this old house. It had character, those beautiful old floorboards, the antique fixtures, the kind of charm you just don't find in newer homes. What they didn't realize was that this charm came with a dark side. From the moment they stepped inside, something felt off. The air was heavy, oppressive, and then there was the smell. It hit them like a wall, this overwhelming stench of burning sulfur. It was strongest in the basement, like whatever was down there wanted them to know it was present. They tried to ignore it, of course. They lit candles, used air fresheners, even tried those plug-in things that are supposed to make your house smell like a tropical rainforest. But nothing worked. The sulfur smell, it always returned, stronger each time. One night, they decided to investigate. They grabbed some flashlights and headed down to the basement, determined to find the source of the smell. The air down there was thick with the stench of sulfur, and it felt colder somehow. And that's when they saw it. Strange symbols drawn on the floor in what looked like dried blood, candles melted down to nubs, and a heavy, ancient-looking book left open on a makeshift altar. The book, it was filled with disturbing images of demons and rituals, and the writing, it was in a language they didn't recognize. As soon as they touched the book, things went haywire. The candles flickered and went out, plunging them into darkness. They heard whispers all around them, voices that seemed to come from the walls themselves. They ran out of that basement, terrified, the smell of sulfur clinging to them like a curse. That's when the visions started. They'd be going about their day, and suddenly they'd see these fleeting images, dark figures lurking in the shadows, eyes glowing red in the darkness, and always the smell of sulfur. They couldn't take it anymore. They left everything behind, their furniture, their belongings, their dreams of making that house their home. The house that once held so much promise had become a nightmare they couldn't escape. They moved far away, hoping to leave the haunting memories and the sulfuric stench behind. But even in their new place, the smell would sometimes return, faint but unmistakable, a chilling reminder of the darkness they had encountered. They never spoke of it to anyone, fearing they wouldn't be believed, but they knew the truth. The burning sulfur was a curse that would follow them forever. Chapter 3. The Rotting Roses. This last story, it's about a group of urban explorers who thought they'd seen it all. They had ventured into countless abandoned buildings, each with its own eerie charm and unsettling history. But nothing could prepare them for the horrors they encountered in that decaying mansion on the edge of town. It was a place that seemed to breathe with a life of its own, a sinister presence lurking in every shadow. The mansion had been abandoned for decades, left to rot after a series of tragic deaths within its walls. The walls seemed to whisper secrets of the past, tales of sorrow and despair that had seeped into the very fabric of the building. The locals whispered stories about it being cursed, a place where the veil between the living and the dead was thin. They spoke of ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena that had driven many away in fear. The urban explorers, though, they didn't believe in any of that. They were skeptics, driven by a thirst for adventure and a desire to debunk the supernatural. They were all about logic, evidence, and capturing everything on camera. Their equipment was state-of-the-art, designed to document every creak and groan of the old mansion. They arrived at the mansion just as the sun was starting to set, casting long, eerie shadows across the overgrown lawn. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. The house loomed over them, its windows like empty eyes staring back at them. It was as if the mansion itself was watching, waiting for them to make their move. And then there was the smell, a pungent, almost suffocating odor that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the mansion. It hit them as soon as they stepped onto the porch, a sickly sweet stench that made their stomachs churn. It was a smell that spoke of death and decay, of things long forgotten. It smelled like rotting flowers, like 1,000 roses left to decay in the summer heat. The scent was almost tangible, wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket. They cautiously entered the house, their flashlights cutting through the gloom. The darkness seemed to swallow the light, creating an oppressive atmosphere that weighed heavily on their spirits. The air inside was thick with dust and the smell of decay, and the silence was broken only by the sound of their own footsteps. Every creak of the floorboards echoed through the empty halls, a reminder of the mansion's long-abandoned state. They explored the house room by room, each one more decrepit than the last. The walls were lined with peeling wallpaper, and the floors were littered with debris from years of neglect. They found old furniture covered in cobwebs, peeling wallpaper, and family portraits with eyes that seemed to follow their every move. The portraits were haunting, their subjects frozen in time, their gazes filled with a silent plea. And then they found it, a hidden room, tucked away at the end of a long, dark hallway. The door was barely visible, concealed behind a tattered curtain. The smell of rotting roses was overpowering in here, almost unbearable. It was as if the very air was saturated with the scent of decay. The room was filled with decayed flowers, their petals withered and brown, their stems covered in a slimy mold. It was a macabre garden, a testament to the mansion's dark history. In the center of the room was a coffin, its lid slightly ajar. It was an ominous sight, a stark reminder of the mansion's tragic past. Curiosity got the better of them. They couldn't resist the urge to see what lay inside. They pushed the lid open, and that's when they saw her, a young woman, dressed in a white gown, her long dark hair fanned out around her head like a halo. She looked almost peaceful, as if she were merely sleeping. Her skin was pale and waxy, but her face was still beautiful, frozen in an eternal slumber. It was a haunting sight, one that would stay with them forever. As they stared down at her, the smell of rotting roses intensified, and they heard a soft whisper coming from the corner of the room. It was a voice, faint and distant, like a ghostly echo. They spun around, their flashlights searching the darkness, but there was nothing there. The room was empty, save for the decayed flowers and the coffin. They tried to leave the room, but the door wouldn't budge. Panic set in. They pushed and pulled, but it was as if the door was sealed by an unseen force. They finally managed to force the door open and fled the room, the smell of rotting roses clinging to them like a shroud. They ran through the dark hallways, their hearts pounding in their chests, desperate to escape the mansion's grasp. Oh my God, you guys, I am freaking out right now. Those stories were intense, right? Like, I knew phantom smells were a thing, but I didn't realize they could be so terrifying. I'm going to have nightmares about lavender and burning sulfur and rotting roses for weeks. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this spooky little journey into the world of haunted homes and ghostly scents. If you did, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more creepy content, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. And hey, if you have any spooky stories of your own, tell me all about it in the comments below. Until next time, stay spooky.